All right. Number 21, Texas, 12.5-point favorites against Kentucky. The over-under I have is a 230 rushing yard advantage for Texas in this game. That's what they had last year. Yeah. Texas, 251 rushing yards. Kentucky, 21 in this game in Austin. Kentucky was sacked 6 times, contributed to that. Still pretty wild. Trey Wisner, 26 carries for 158 yards in this game last year. If he's right, big if, he gets fed a ton in this game, even if CJ Baxter returns, which there's hope that that's actually going to happen this week. Weird situation with him. I think they would like to play the long game with him with how much he's been banged up these last 14 months. I think they would really like to be able to have him for the long haul. Texas turned things around against Oklahoma because finally found that ground game identity that we've been waiting to see from this team all year. Here's a wild thought I saw CJ Vogel tweet about during a Sark press conference. Before the Oklahoma game, Texas did not have a running back who had recorded a 20-yard carry this year. That is hard to believe with the opponents that they faced in the games 2 through 4. Not even against Sam Houston State. They could get a running back.
Their breakout performance offensively, you're going to tell me they didn't run the ball for 20 yards? That's crazy.
They had one. I think they had the one Trey Wisner run, which that run was a huge play for Texas. Like it was in the second quarter where Oklahoma was up 6-0 at that point. And I talked about this a little bit on Sunday, but it looks like he had gotten bottled up in the backfield and he keeps his legs moving and he even fooled the cameraman at that point. It looks like, he just plays dead. And then he keeps the legs moving, squirts through 37-yard gain on this and to get into OU territory when Texas had just been getting shut out to that point. And Nick Brooks, the freshman left guard who's been kind of taking his lumps in pass pro, has been kind of part of the Texas concerns with their offensive line this year. He's trailing the play and he does this like emphatic first down sign. And those moments matter over the course of the season, especially for a team like Texas that has been so close to reaching the college football mountaintop, that has maybe at times this season had to just feel like it's having fun playing football in some of these games and where it's not this slog and this weight of expectations. I know that gets talked about just with Arch, but I think it needs to get brought up with this Texas team as a whole, albeit one that's got a very new look offensive line. Well, you got to be able to run the ball against this Kentucky team because they're allowing an average of 193 yards in 3 SEC games and 10 rushing scores allowed in those games. This is not a vintage Mark Stoops run defense by any stretch of the imagination. If I am Sark, I don't want this game to have 20 first half passing attempts for Arch Manning. I don't want that. No, I want to get those ground game options going. Maybe even those slow developing jet sweeps with the wide outs where you get Ryan Wingo going one way and DeAndre Moore is doing this. And all of a sudden you're like, like last year. And one of the things I asked Quinn Ewers about when he came on the pod during the playoff was like those slow developing run plays that you guys like to run where you just kind of have your back to a defense. Those got to be kind of terrifying, right? Like if you don't have faith in the system, you're blowing that play up just with anxiousness. I don't know that Texas has the offensive line to operate that, but you at least have to try it against a team like this to put that on film.
Yes, and I will say your stat was correct. I wasn't saying it was incorrect, but I do want to provide the context. That Texas has 2 quarterbacks and a wide receiver that have a 20-yard run. Because I'm thinking
a backup quarterback with a 20-yard, like a 37-yard run, whatever it was, as well, something like that,
yes.
Or a 50-yard run.
It's a 50-yard run. Yeah. So I'm like, I've seen some Chuck run plays. They just came from other guys. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I just want to say Texas run the ball decently effectively. Yeah. Now that being said, after this game, I think they'll be able to say that a couple more times. This would be the funniest Mark Stoops. How do you like me now? I already said that about Billy Napier against this team. Would it be funnier or less funny than the Billy Napier game? 7 p.m. Kroger Field.
Not exactly as hostile of an atmosphere for Texas as what they saw at the Horseshoe or at the Swamp. I'm a Kroger Field respecter.
Nobody goes to the produce aisle and comes out unscathed. All right.
Look, Kroger. I think there were a lot of fans across college football that could go to Kroger Field in a given Saturday, even when Kentucky is basura and fans just feel like they can't wait for basketball to start. I think you could still go to that place in a given college football Saturday when a top 25 team comes in and be surprised at how good that atmosphere is. It is not a bad atmosphere by any stretch of the imagination. There will be pre-snap infractions from Texas, and there will be moments in this game in which Texas is going, oh, this is a road game, probably not to the extent of what they have seen so far. Definitely not to the extent of what they have seen in that Florida game. So I'll at least say that. But this would be a really big time How Do You Like Me Now random SEC win for Mark Stoops when he hasn't beat a power conference team at home in front of the Kroger Field faithful in over 2 years. So from that standpoint, yeah.
I think he'll get one of those this year. Again, like we talked about, he could have, and I think maybe should have had Georgia last year in a very similar environment. And I'll say, like, Kentucky fans are among the most passionate and invested fans in the SEC, probably top 5 to me. But you got to count basketball, you got to count some of the other stuff. Like, they just have
you're saying fans as a whole, not just football
of the university. Like, the people of Lexington really do get up. They just haven't much to cheer for lately. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's been a solid environment in some of these bigger years for them. I could kind of see it, like, with the blue and white. So not that that'll be the case here. So I don't want to be like, oh, like, no one's scared of this environment. The fans really do care and show up. They just, why would you for right now? But that being said, I think they have one of these in them. It could be, I think this game could be sneaky close, you know, just because of the way that both teams want to control the ball. Like, this team could be one of those, you know, the how bad do we get beat chart comes out and Texas is way ahead, but the final score is like 10 points in the end, probably.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm going to call it. I think that Texas will control this game, but because of the game script, it will feel to a degree, that's like kind of how the first half was against Georgia, where it's like they kind of have a chance to get back in this one, but they're Kentucky, right? And so I think that's probably what we're going to see here. Maybe, you know, could have an Arch Manning breakout game, but I do think there is some pride in that.
Last week, I think counts as a breakout game for Arch.
Yeah, well, I think, too, it was more of like a Texas total like defense game. Like, I think the whole team just came to play last week versus Arch kind of carrying them. He may do a little bit of this against this defense, but I do think that the Kentucky defense has some pride to him. So I could see an interception here. We saw that against Ole Miss, right? So, but that being said, probably spending too many words on this game. I think we know how this is going to go.
I agree with that breakdown and have a 10-point Texas win. I have 27-17. So technically Kentucky is going to cover that spread, but it's going to be a game in which it doesn't really feel like it's in doubt. Texas kind of feels like it's in control. Cutter Boley against his Texas defense is going to be really, really tough. He was a guy last year who came in for an injured Brock Vandagriff in this game, and albeit with Texas already up 24-7, and made some nice throws, some throws that had kind of been lacking for Kentucky. And I've revisited the Nick Roush tweet from this week in which he got the all right from McConaughey after this one and gave him a nice little pat on the back. Can you imagine being a true freshman going into Texas and getting the stamp of approval from McConaughey? That's got to be worth something in life. I don't know what Cutter Boley's football career is going to end up being. In the grand scheme of his SEC experience, his college football experience, that's going to be up there at the top. Like, just that is at least a cool moment for that kid.
That's something to hope for. And hey, Kentucky, if you do score, a couple touchdowns here, maybe your first touchdown, get this out of the way. Just be aware of the Manning family. If you want to throw any footballs at them, they could probably catch them. So just be aware. Make your touchdowns count in this one. All right.
Is Cooper going to be there? Of course he will, right? I would assume he's going to be there. Was he at Florida?
You tell me, bro.
I wasn't. I was. Because I was there, so like I wasn't watching that one on TV, so I don't remember if we. I assume that Cooper's going to be there as well.